Queen summoned everyone to a private meeting at her royal country house, and everyone attended except Meghan Markle. I don't blame Meghan for not going, because nothing good happens when white people invite you to the countryside. All right? We've all seen it. We've all seen Get Out. We know how this shit ends.
Give me those keys. Rose, now! Now, the keys! Oh, be careful, bro.
You know I can't give you the keys, right, babe?
Damn! This is so amazing. So many of you here to see me, huh? I feel like Meghan Markle. This is dope.
Harry and Meghan are leaving the palace to become financially independent. And you see, this is what happens when you bring the first black woman into the royal family. Yeah. She looked at Harry and she's like, "Nigga, you need to get a job. You need a job. You a grown-ass man. You can't still be living in your mama's house, Harry."
It's important we do this ourselves, Harry, and not live off your family.
I agree. We'll just have to find a way to make £50 billion on our own.
Fuck.
What is it that you do exactly, Harry? What is it that you do exactly, Grandma? Ah, touché.
Listen to this. Meghan Markle to join the 11th season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Ugh, so thirsty for any kind of attention. I would die before I would be on her reality show.
Like, what was this girl, Meghan Markle? Just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light-skin lottery? Acting all dumb like she don't know nothing. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. They're the original racists.
My brother's fiancée, Miss Meghan Markle, is on the American program Suits.
Yes, Wednesdays, 8 p.m, USA Network. Check it out. She's amazing in it. Yeah?
Right. The only difference between that show and this is people watch this one.
Oh, hilarious.
The newest update in Meghan Markle's story doesn't come from the royals or Netflix. It comes from Trevor Noah. His roast, once thought to be just another monologue, has now transformed into a defining moment that reshaped her global reputation. And the update tonight? It hasn't cooled off. The jokes are still trending, still being clipped, and still dismantling the image Meghan and Harry spent years trying to build. Everyone knows the line that started it. Noah joked that Meghan told Harry to finally get a job, mocking their departure from palace life as less of a brave stand and more of an overdue reality check. Then came the follow-ups. Harry joining the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, fumbling job interviews, and Meghan working rooms like the ultimate Hollywood networker. It was fast, sharp, and it stuck. Now, months later, those punchlines are circulating again, not just on Noah's stage, but across social media, late-night shows, and even British satire programs that turn Meghan into a puppet caricature. This is the latest development. Meghan isn't simply being criticized, she's being rebranded by comedians, by audiences, and by meme culture itself. And that's where tonight's breakdown begins, because this isn't about one roast. It's about 5 brutal moments that together mark the turning point where comedy, not PR, decided Meghan Markle's story. The first brutal moment that cut straight through Meghan's carefully built image came when Trevor Noah joked that Harry, a grown man in his late 30s, was still living in his mom's house.
Why? Why would Harry and Meghan want out of a life that so many people dream of having? I mean, think about it. We kiss frogs to try and become royalty. Huh? The only thing I've ever gotten is father herpes. But for Harry and Meghan in particular, the reality of being a royal couple has been far from a fairy tale.
Delivered with a sly grin, it wasn't just a punchline. It was a reframing of their entire royal exit. Overnight, the image of a courageous couple stepping away from tradition was swapped out for something harsher. A jobless prince being pushed into adulthood by his wife. This line landed because it wasn't fantasy. It played into real questions the public had long been asking. What would Harry actually do for work? Could he live outside the palace bubble? Noah sharpened those questions into comedy, painting a scene where Meghan is less the fairy tale bride and more the tough partner forcing Harry to grow up. And the crowd's reaction said it all. They weren't laughing at the joke, they were laughing at how close it cut to the truth. From there, Noah doubled down on the humiliation. He imagined Harry trying to hold down real jobs, cartoon voiceovers, sales gigs, or corporate meetings, where no one knew whether to call him Your Majesty or Mr. Windsor. The brilliance was in the way it turned royal privilege into everyday awkwardness. Suddenly, Harry wasn't untouchable. He was every underqualified employee fumbling to keep up. And that's why this first roast stung the most. It cracked the fairy tale wide open and exposed the gap between how Meghan and Harry wanted to be seen and how the public really saw them. But if that moment made people laugh uncomfortably, what Noah said next turned the whole palace drama into something even bigger. The second brutal moment came when Trevor Noah tore down the Sussexes' new life in California with a single line: Harry might as well join the cast of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It wasn't just a throwaway joke. It reframed Meghan and Harry's dramatic departure from the palace as something far less noble, an audition for Hollywood relevance. And the sting was that people could actually picture it. Meghan sliding back into acting circles, Harry showing up in stage drama for the cameras, the couple trading crowns for contracts.
Harry and Meghan are leaving the palace to become financially independent. And you see, this is what happens when you bring the first black woman into the royal family. Yeah. She looked at Harry and she's like, "Nigga, you need to get a job. You need a job. You a grown-ass man. You can't still be living in your mama's house, Harry."
What made this roast so devastating was how neatly it aligned with the timing of their real-life deals. Around that same period, Meghan and Harry had signed the multi-million-dollar Netflix and Spotify partnerships, trying to brand themselves as global storytellers and media power players. But instead of being taken seriously, Noah boiled it down to what it looked like to the average viewer: two reality TV stars scrambling to stay visible. The audience's laughter wasn't just at Harry's expense, it was at the bigger irony. For years, Meghan and Harry claimed they wanted privacy, yet every move they made after leaving the palace seemed to sell more access to their personal lives. Noah's punchline highlighted that contradiction with surgical precision, and the damage didn't stop there. Because once a late-night comic frames you as a reality TV character, that label sticks. Every paparazzi shot, every podcast teaser, every staged photo opportunity suddenly feels scripted, as if it belongs in the same category as Bravo's over-the-top spectacles. That's why this moment hit harder than most. It didn't just land in the room, it reshaped the way millions would interpret the Sussexes' every move afterward. And if the Real Housewives jab was a turning point, the next roast would hit even deeper, because it dismantled Meghan's strongest defense of all. If the earlier jokes painted Harry as a jobless prince and a would-be reality star, this next moment cut even deeper, because Trevor Noah went straight after Meghan's most powerful defense, her PR shield. For years, Meghan framed criticism as unfair or rooted in prejudice. And for a long time, it worked. Media pushback could be dismissed as bias, jealousy, or outdated tradition. But Noah did something few American comedians dared. He flipped that very narrative on its head. He pointed out how Meghan leaned into identity when it served her, then sidestepped it when it didn't. The brilliance was in how he didn't deliver it as an accusation, but as a perfectly timed joke. Instead of sounding like an attack, it landed like a revelation, one wrapped in laughter the audience couldn't ignore.
Queen summoned everyone to a private meeting at her royal country house, and everyone attended except Meghan Markle, who conference called in. And I'll be honest, I won't blame Meghan for not going, because nothing good happens when white people invite you to the countryside. We all know. We've all seen it. We've all seen Get Out. We know how this shit ends.
By the end of the segment, Meghan's glossy humanitarian image, built through carefully staged interviews and polished Netflix productions, looked less like authenticity and more like a performance. The roast dismantled her public persona brick by brick, exposing contradictions she couldn't spin away. And here's why that moment mattered. A prince fumbling through odd jobs is funny, but Meghan's credibility was the real centerpiece of the Sussex brand. Once Noah cracked it, the illusion shattered. Because when the audience starts laughing at the very thing that built your influence, you've lost control of the story. And the proof came almost instantly. Within days, other comics picked up the same thread. What started with Noah's sly smile became a wave of punchlines across late-night TV, podcasts, and sketch shows. In comedy, momentum is everything, and Noah had just lit the fuse. But as brutal as the PR takedown was, the fallout didn't stop in America. What happened next showed just how global the roasting had become, and how comedians overseas sharpened the knives even further. Once Trevor Noah cracked open Meghan's carefully built image, the rest of America's comedy circuit smelled blood in the water. What could have been a one-night laugh quickly snowballed into a full-on cultural roast. Every major platform, from late-night monologues to top podcasts, joined in, and they weren't gentle. Conan O'Brien jumped on the news that Meghan and Harry's wax figures were pulled from Madame Tussauds, spinning it into a surreal gag about where they'd end up next, hinting at settings far less royal than a palace. Saturday Night Live kept the momentum going, turning Harry into a bumbling sitcom character while mocking Meghan's TV career in Suits as if it were an embarrassing relic. Even Joe Rogan, who usually saves his sharpest shots for athletes and politicians, couldn't resist. He didn't bother crafting a scripted routine. He simply roasted Harry in real time, weaving in their past disagreements with a raw honesty that audiences found both shocking and hilarious. It wasn't just Meghan being mocked anymore, it was the couple as a package deal. And here's where it stung the most. These weren't passing jokes. They became recurring bits.
Damn, Harry and Meghan are losing their titles? That's the most embarrassing royal loss since William's hairline. But yes, the Queen has announced that Harry and Meghan can no longer describe themselves as royal. And I won't lie, if I was Harry and Meghan, I'll be like, fine, then we'll be known as royale.
The kind that live on in sketch compilations, YouTube clips, and endless reaction videos. Each new punchline reinforced the last, embedding Meghan and Harry into America's comedy bloodstream as permanent targets. For a couple trying to pivot into serious Hollywood players, being recast as ongoing comedy material was devastating. And just when it seemed the heat couldn't get worse, the British comedy scene took the baton and turned the roast into something even more ruthless. If American comics turned Meghan and Harry into punchlines, British comedians turned them into a full-blown national sport. The satire in the UK wasn't just playful, it was ruthless, sharp, and relentless. One of the most savage moments came from Spitting Image, the legendary puppet satire show. Meghan was reimagined as a scheming, spotlight-chasing caricature, while Harry was portrayed as a clueless man-child needing help just to work a TV remote. It was comedy, yes, but it hammered a truth people already suspected, that the couple's public image had drifted from noble independence into glossy self-promotion. And unlike a one-off monologue, these puppet clips lived online, racking up millions of views and cementing Meghan's caricature as part of British pop culture. Then came Jimmy Carr, a comedian notorious for pushing boundaries. With one cold line, he reframed Meghan's brand of feminism. She demonstrated it by marrying a prince and giving up her job. The crowd gasped, then roared. The backlash was immediate. Debates on TV, radio segments, and endless opinion columns. But the outrage only made the joke more famous. Instead of hurting Carr, the controversy immortalized his punchline as one of the defining roasts in the Meghan saga. What made the UK's escalation so brutal was the persistence. Unlike American comics, who moved on to other targets, British satire circled back again and again. Every New Sussex interview, every Netflix special, every podcast clip was recycled into another joke. In the UK, Meghan wasn't just mocked. She became ongoing comedic shorthand for contradiction. And the truth was clear. Across the Atlantic, Meghan and Harry weren't being seen as victims of a cruel monarchy. They were viewed as architects of their own spectacle, and the British comedy machine never missed a chance to remind them. But the final blow didn't come from a stage or a puppet. It came from the internet, where millions of anonymous voices turned the roast into something permanent.
This morning, new headlines that Harry and Meghan could be moving to Africa. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are reportedly considering heading on a sabbatical for 6 months.
They're taking a sabbatical? How are you gonna take a break from being royalty? What are you doing? This is like the weirdest thing. Oh, just have to take a break. Too many people suffering, guys. That's too much.
And far more vicious. If comedians lit the fire, the internet poured gasoline on it. What began as Trevor Noah's late-night roast quickly morphed into a permanent online genre. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter became non-stop roast arenas, with Meghan and Harry at the center of a meme cycle they couldn't escape. One clip in particular sparked the frenzy. A small moment from Meghan's Netflix series where she corrected actress Mindy Kaling on how to say her name. On its own, it was harmless. But slowed down, replayed, and captioned, it became meme gold. Suddenly, Meghan's face was pasted into endless parody scenarios, each more exaggerated than the last. That single clip spawned a flood of viral edits, and just like that, she went from polished humanitarian to punchline template. The mockery didn't stop at memes. Parody cooking videos surfaced online, showing Meghan lookalikes giving lifestyle tips in lavish kitchens while sipping champagne, mocking the disconnect between her image of struggle and her very real mansion life. Fan-made remixes of her interviews turned into auto-tuned dance tracks with names like Royal Reality Check, spreading across YouTube and Spotify parody channels. The key difference online? These weren't professional comedians with reputations to manage. They were anonymous creators, global and relentless. And once meme culture takes hold, it doesn't let go. Every time Meghan or Harry appeared in public, whether it was a podcast, a staged photo, or a charity speech, new edits flooded social media within hours. Unlike a one-time late-night gag, the internet doesn't forget. Clips loop endlessly, jokes get recycled, and narratives are rewritten in real time. Meghan and Harry weren't just being roasted, they were being rebranded, permanently, by millions of people who found them funnier as satire than as serious figures. And that's the devastating update. By the time the internet hijacked the roast, it wasn't Trevor Noah's joke anymore. It was everyone's. And no PR strategy on earth can stop that. By the time the dust settled, Meghan and Harry weren't just the subjects of a few sharp punchlines. They had become permanent fixtures in global satire. What started with Trevor Noah's sly grin and a brutal joke about Harry needing a job had snowballed into late-night segments, British puppet shows, endless online memes, and viral edits that simply refused to die out. The lasting damage wasn't just the laughter, it was the contradiction those jokes exposed, the gap between what Meghan and Harry say they want and how they actually live. On one hand, they position themselves as victims of relentless scrutiny. On the other, they built an entire career selling access to their private lives. Once Trevor Noah and every comedian after him spotlighted that contradiction, the public couldn't unsee it. And that's the real legacy of this roast. Comedy turned into cultural commentary. Every new deal, every staged interview, every carefully curated appearance now carries the risk of being flipped into the next viral gag. Their story is no longer in their control. It belongs to an audience that finds it more entertaining to laugh at them than to listen to them. So here's the question they'll never escape. Can Meghan and Harry ever reclaim their narrative? Or have they already crossed the point where the world decided they're funnier as a running joke? Because once comedy rebrands you, there's no PR machine strong enough to rewrite the punchline.